Okay, so I'm 3 episodes into Britannia. I'm a third of the way through. First, I'm going to talk generally about the show, try to give you an idea if you're going to like it. Then later, I'm going to delve more into specifics of what happened in the first 3 episodes, try to give you an idea of all the different characters so you can make sense of it, because there's a lot going on. Okay, so why the show is so great. You have the Romans, and they're all about science and order and reason, and they're trying to dominate the world and bring all the chaos of the world under their control. And they go into this wilderness, this uncivilized place, modern-day Britain, and they encounter witchcraft and mysticism and all these weird beliefs, and there's this attempt to bring all this weirdness and superstition under their control. Now, because both the colonizers, the Romans, and the people they're trying to colonize are white, they're able to get away on the show with a lot of stuff they wouldn't otherwise, and the basic narrative at the heart of it, it really is Heart of Darkness, one of the greatest books of all time, and the Roman general who's going and trying to pacify this area, he's kind of a Kurtz figure, who basically, a man of science and reason, who goes to this strange place with all these strange beliefs and tries to tamp down and stamp out these beliefs, but maybe gets swept up in those same mysticism and eventually just falls in love with the local gods and customs and becomes an enemy to Rome. So this is getting compared to Game of Thrones. Is it like Game of Thrones? It's like Game of Thrones in that there's just this kind of sprawling insanity and all these different elements. Let's throw in a weird sexual relationship. Let's throw in some magic. Let's throw in some torture. Just all these different weird elements thrown into play, and just this epic scale and all these different characters interacting, coming together. But Game of Thrones is a lot more serious. This has a goofy, not taking itself too seriously, absurdism, shock humor that Game of Thrones just doesn't have. Game of Thrones has funny moments, but it's not a funny show. This is a funny show, and you can sometimes feel like you're watching a crazy, trippy comedy. The creator of the show even says, I'm broadcasting at a frequency a lot of people aren't going to pick up. That's code for this show is batshit insane at times. And compared to Game of Thrones, the violence, it's more goofy and gory than actually well choreographed or smooth. For instance, one of the shots, one of the Romans, he gets an arrow through the neck, then another arrow, and just 8 arrows go through his head, and it's like a human pincushion. And then all the Romans, they huddle together like the Greek phalanx in the movie Troy, except it's just this tiny little box, and all the arrows are just getting pounded in, and they're just in this little box. And then all the Druids, not the Druids, the Celts, they just bum rush this box, and it's just that goofy, over-the-top, gory violence that some people are going to like, some people won't. And I will say, some of the gore is more fun, but it gets dark at times. You see someone getting their eyes burned out. You see someone actually getting the skin flayed off their body. It's one of the most disturbing scenes I've seen, and that's saying a lot. So definitely, if you're not someone who can handle some really intense, gory scenes, there's going to be some moments that are going to really be tough for you to get through. And some of the visuals, the landscapes are really great. Basically, if you want a show with the epic scale and the craziness of Game of Thrones, but that doesn't take itself seriously at all, for better or worse, this might be the show for you. And now I'm going to get into actually talking about some specifics of the show, what happened in the first 3 episodes, and doing more of a recap. Okay, so first we have the Druids. In a show with a lot of weirdness, they got to be the most weird. We got pillars of human skulls. They can talk and go to the other side and then come back. They can see the future. Tribes will consult with them and say, tell us what we should do. And the leader of the Druids, he's actually on Pirates of the Caribbean, that guy with the wooden eye, the kind of comic relief character from the first Pirates of the Caribbean. If just when you thought he couldn't look any weirder and stranger, and honestly more like himself, the makeup they do on him is just fantastic. And then we have Divis. So he used to be part of the Druids, but they kicked him out because they said he was possessed by this evil demon named Puika. Now he's dressed like a vagrant, he's kind of wandering around, but he's a genius and he has magical powers, and he bumps into Kate. Now she's a girl, and her whole tribe was massacred, and then some of them were captured by the invading Romans. So now she's trying to get her dad back, and she's wandering around, and she bumps into Divis. So now they're this pair. A lot of people compare them to Arya and the Hound on Game of Thrones. They have this great dynamic where she's just very adamant about he has to take her and find her dad. He really just wants to get rid of her, but she just stands up and gives as good as she gets, and honestly their dynamic is one of the best on the show. So Divis and Kate, they make it to the Roman camp, and Kate actually sees her dad get his eyes burned out by the Roman second in command. Now the second in command, he's more conventional, seems to just want to beat the locals with force, but the main guy for the Romans, Aulus, he's a little more mystical, it seems like, and he seems to really want to fight their gods and kind of not win hearts and minds, but kind of philosophically defeat their whole belief system. So he's kind of an interesting character as well. And we see Aulus actually go to the Druids and start to do these kind of mystical rituals and ceremonies, and it's unclear why, whether he wants to just learn about this so he can better defeat it, or whether he believes there's real power that the Druids have, and he wants to tap into this power. And we have the two local tribes, the Regni and the Cantii. So why they're fighting is the Regni queen. She went to the Druids and says, what should I do? And the Druids say, your son should marry Kerra. She's a Cantii princess. So the queen of the Regni is like, fine, and they go and they're about to get married, and then Kerra, for whatever reason, actually chops off you can fill in the blanks, of the Regni prince. Now, Kerra's a very interesting character. She doesn't get along with the rest of her Cantii tribe, in particular her father, because her mother, it was revealed by the Druids that her mother actually had Roman blood in her. And this angered the Cantii so much, they just hate the Romans, that her father actually killed her mother for having that Roman blood. Now, she also seems to have this link to Roman culture. She hides Roman books. No one really knows this. So Kerra really is not trusted by the rest of her tribe. Anyway, so when the Romans come, the queen of the Regni says, look, we will help you, and we'll help you set up shop in this land and take it over if you agree to get Kerra and bring her to us so I can avenge my son and his now missing. So, and it's very interesting because oftentimes we think about colonization and you see the locals as being united in this monolith, but no, oftentimes there's tribes like in any other part of the world, and the colonizers often exploit that using a kind of divide and conquer strategy. So we see that here. And then lastly, we have Kerra's sister-in-law. Now she has two husbands, and it seems like one of the husbands is kind of the talking to husband, and the other husband is really just the I'd like to have sex with him husband. It's unclear, I missed it, why she has two husbands, something to do with for the good of the tribe. And it seems like she's very happy with this arrangement. She's really into this second husband, but her first husband is very unhappy with it, but doesn't really know how to stop it, is kind of going along with it. So those are our last two characters that kind of flesh out this big pantheon of characters we have. Okay, so I'm going to end the video there. It's getting long. There's lots more things I could talk about, but I will do more reviews because I'm all in on this show, total guilty pleasure show. Small channel just starting out. If you leave a comment, I'll definitely read it and reply. And subscribe to the channel if you want to see more reviews.